Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to your lecture number 30. That is your communication skills class, and today we are going to talk about the verbal communication during presentations. As we're in the process of improving your presentation skills, that involves all your presentation, all your skills simultaneously, starting from your reading, writing, speaking, and the fourth one is listening. So we want to work on these integrated skills in your presentation. So this is our main focus, that you get to find out that how you can stand in front of the number of the audiences and present yourself as well as the product of your company. So once you'll be going into your practical lives, inshallah, you will see that in your job scenario how these things would be so helpful to you, and you would remember that there used to be a teacher who has taught us about all these things, and now we are able to implement each one of them in our practical life. So listen to each one of the detail so carefully and just try to remember that what exactly you are supposed to do and how exactly you are supposed to respond from situation to situation. So today's lecture is about the verbal communication during presentation. As you know that in the previous lecture we have talked about the non-verbal communication during presentation. Today we are going to talk about the verbal communication during presentation, and we would see that how you can work on verbal communication as to make sure that you present things in the most possible way as you can. So before we actually begin with today's lecture, let's quickly recap that what we have done in our previous lecture. Basically, the last lecture was about the non-verbal communication during presentations, and we have got to find a lot of ways of making your non-verbal behavior strong during the presentations, and just to reflect that your audiences, they understand your message better. In the last lecture, we had been thoroughly discussing that your non-verbal communication is the 65% of your average communication, and the rest of 35% is your verbal communication. So your non-verbal communication has a strong impression on your audiences, and your audiences, they respond back to you, or they respond back to your verbal message and your messages strongly, your non-verbal messages strongly as compared to your verbal messages. So as to begin with, in the previous lecture, as we have discussed that what is the communication, we just to give you a quick recap that what and how this communication actually goes on. It basically is a cycle, or it basically is exchange of ideas, thoughts or feelings between the sender. Now this is going to be your sender, and this is going to be your receiver. Now this sender would send a message to the receiver, and the receiver would receive the message and would interpret that message according to his or her background knowledge that he has. Now this message that the sender is sending to the receiver has got its connection, or he or she would send that message to the receiver either through verbal communication or non-verbal communication. So for understanding this communication channel of the message, it is really very important that we understand the difference between verbal messages and non-verbal messages. We had been discussing this thing thoroughly, that verbal messages basically involves the written communication as well as the spoken words, which involves the vocals, or which involves the sounds from your mouth. So your verbal message or your verbal communication should be strong enough to be understood and to be interpreted by your audiences thoroughly, so that they can understand and they can evaluate that what exactly you are talking about. So your verbal message should move from your one sender to the receiver thoroughly. There is one third category that is known as paraverbal message, that is also of very importance, and that falls somewhat under the heading of non-verbal message, where your sound, your pitch of voice, your volume, your animations, everything, it matters a lot. And your non-verbal messages basically focuses on the gestures, your hand movements, your eye contact, your facial expressions, and so on and so forth. So we have been defining non-verbal communication messages or non-verbal communication as a category in which there are no words, yet there are unspoken words, yet your message is being communicated face to face through the expressions, through the behavior, through the eye contact, through the facial expressions, through the hand movements, through your arms, through the poise, through your standing posture, through your hand and foot movements. Everything, every single thing is involved in your non-verbal communication. We have also talked about the different categories of non-verbal behavior, and we have also seen and talked about that which things you are supposed to take care of during of the non-verbal communication during your presentation. The first one is the first impression that you make with the help of your eye contact, with the help of the smile on your face, with the help of your palms outside, with the help of your hand movements, with the help of your body movements, with the body posture and orientation, with the proximity level between you and your audiences, then your body language, using your body language as a tool, your voice, your gestures, your sincerity that is being revealed through your hands and your facial expressions, and in the end reading your audiences and their level of interest during the presentation. So that was all about a quick recap to your non-verbal communication as a strong tool in your presentations. Now today we are going to particularly talk about the verbal communication. And as I have already told you that verbal communication basically focuses on written communication as well as the words that you choose or that you deliver or that you opt for conveying your message, your information or the idea to the audiences. Now for conveying any kind of the info for presentation, there are three major purposes. For writing down or for conveying the verbal messages or for conveying the verbal presentations, there are three major purposes. The first one is to inform, the second one is to persuade, and the third one is to educate. Now these are the three things that you are supposed to keep in mind for making your verbal messages sound proper and look proper to different numbers of the audiences. Your verbal messages may be the collection of the information that you are providing to your audiences. They can be one mode of persuasion for your audiences, or you may be talking about educating a number of audiences at the same time. So either you provide the information to your audiences about the product, either you want to persuade your audiences for the product, for making them purchase the product, or you want to educate them with its use or what they can get, what kinds of the benefits they can get after using this kind of a product. So this is what you call the purposes of presentation. So in the exam, if you are being asked that what is the purpose of presentation or for the purpose of communication, you must reply that you inform, to persuade and to educate. So now coming back to the verbal messages, you are supposed to keep in mind. Now let's erase whatever we have written so that you can have a clear view of the slide that is there right in front of you. Now that we are done with the purposes of communication, and now that we are done with the different categories or different modes of communication, now let's see that what exactly verbal messages talk about and where what exactly they revolve around. As you can very well see on the slide, verbal messages are or they can be heard through paraphrasing. Now something is being said to you, and you are paraphrasing the content or the intent for the to the next person into your own words. Paraphrasing is a brief and concise statement of reflecting the content of the speaker's speech. Now that I am talking to you and I ask you that what do you understand by whatever I am saying, now in your own words you would paraphrase whatever I have said, and you would try to tell me in a very concise way the content of the whole discussion. Like you would say, and you might tell me that we are talking about the verbal communication during presentation and its usage. So this is what you call paraphrasing. So in verbal messages, paraphrasing is one thing that is highly involved. Reflecting feeling. Verbal messages can also be used for reflecting a feeling, like a statement in a way that conveys understanding of the feeling that the listener has heard. So If a friend of yours is telling you about a very sad scenario, or maybe he's telling you about his personal experience, and you reflect your feelings by saying that I'm really sorry to hear that, or I'm really sorry about whatever has happened to you. So these kind of the reflected feelings in the form of the statement that possesses or that relates to your personal feelings is known as reflecting feeling. That can also be one kind of the verbal messages. Then summarizing. Summarizing means that you are summarizing the whole main idea and feelings to show the understanding that you have understood the matter accurately that is being conveyed by the sender to you. Questioning, sometimes if you ask questions to the next person like, are you trying to say this, or are you trying to say that, do you refer to the this thing, or do you refer to that thing? So asking open questions to gain information, to encourage the speaker to tell her story, and to gain clarification. Now there are three major purposes: to gain clarification, to understand the speaker's content, and to understand or to gain the information can be addressed properly by questioning the next person, or by asking the relevant or the concerned questions by the concerned person. That can also be one category of enhancing your verbal messages. So these are some of the categories that we have talked about for the verbal messages. Now let's move on to the next slide. The following tips are the starting point to help you think about how you can improve your verbal communication skills, whether in planned or unplanned situations. Now there may be situations in your business scenario as you would be going into your practical lives. So there would be situations that you are not prepared for. Today's discussion would help you see that how you can address, or how you can respond to, or how you can give your feedback in the kinds of the situations through verbal communication, especially where you of course you don't go everywhere with a planned up mind that this is what I am going to say. Of course. So there are situations which are totally unplanned and you don't know what to say to them. So this in this scenario we are here to discuss the points that would help you make yourself alert for the situations, for those unplanned situations to which you can react, or to which you can respond properly by giving the accurate feedback to your audiences. The first tip is to read more. The more you would read, the more you would be creative. The more knowledge, or the more kind of ideas you would be getting, the more kind of vocabulary enhancement you would get. Simply increasing what you read, business texts, novels, newspapers, can improve your vocabulary. It can help you express ideas clearly, and it eliminates weakness in your language skills. So there are three things that can be helped through your reading more. The first one is you can enhance your vocabulary. The second thing is you can express your ideas more clearly, and the third thing is that your language, it can enhance your language skills. So you would read more, whatever you are supposed to read. If you are fond of novels, you can read novels. If you are fond of reading newspaper, if you are reading business text, whatever your area of interest is. You are into sports, you are into fashion, you like reading newspapers, you like reading different kind of research articles. Whatever you want or whatever you like to read, just try to read more so that you can those things which are of your interest. First, you would help yourself increase your vocabulary. Second, you would help yourself express your ideas clearly. And the third thing that would help you, improve the weakness in your language skills. So you would become more expressive and more generative in expressing your ideas to the audiences. Now, second tip is to think about the words. Too many words will bore your listener, take up too much time, and result in you losing credibility. So too many words may bore your listener or may bore your audiences. So try to look for those possible words or those minimized words which can express your idea more clearly. There is no need to waffle about it. You don't need to panic about it. Remember not to use words that people do not understand. Now there are kind of people who try to use such kind of a hi-fi language that would make them different from the rest of the people, or that can, you know, help them, or that might become one positive aspect on them. Once you are talking to the bigger or the larger number of the audiences, and if the next person is not understanding what you are saying, that would go in vain. Like for example, if you are talking to a shopkeeper who is totally illiterate, and you tell him, oh please give me this, give me that, I want this, I want that, he will not understand. So you are supposed to use that kind of a language to your audiences that is related or that is relevant to their area of understanding, to their knowledge, to their background. So after that you have looked at your audiences, make sure that then you are going to communicate with them. First thing, try to use those simple words in your language that is understandable by the larger number of the people. Whatever you are writing, whatever you are speaking, because presentation is not the way that you are talking to only one person who has done his or her PhD from somewhere abroad, or from some foreign organization, or from any foreign institution. There is a variety of the audiences. Maybe there is one who is coming from the less knowledge background, yet he is interested in listening to you, and since English is going to be your mode of communication, and you are using those hi-fi words which are not understandable by him, so he might not understand that what exactly you are talking about. That also has something to do with using those kind of the technical words into your language. Like for example, if I ask you to use the acronyms and abbreviations in your language which are not understandable by everyone, your communication and your conversation would go in vain. You don't want your presentation to ruin. What exactly you are focusing on is to convey your information to the larger number of the audiences in the minimum time as you can. So think about the choice of the words that you are making. They may not even tell you that they don't understand what you are saying, but you may appear intimidating and make them feel inferior. So do not try to create this distance, this detachment between you and your sender. As we also have said, that try to be the part of them. So once you are going to be the part of your audiences, it means that you are going to mingle with them. Arriving at your presentation spot or your presentation venue few minutes early, or maybe 20 minutes early, or maybe 15 minutes early has been suggested time and again, just to make sure that you reach the venue and you make them understand that their presence is valued. You try to understand the kind of the knowledge background that they are coming from. You are one of the host of them. You understand that what kind of knowledge background they are coming from, and how you can address their concerns, and how you can convey your message appropriately and objectively to them. So thinking about the words is really very important thing once you are talking about the presenting good things in front of the audiences. If you have time to prepare, make sure that you prepare for your presentation well. You would spend time planning what you would say if you were thinking. So prepare whatever you are or whatever you are going to say. Like in most cases, just to share a very personal experience with you, if there is a scenario where everyone is being given chance to speak, I would prepare myself, and I would look for those words that I might begin with. So that very first line that I might begin with is one problem with me. I don't know what kind of the problem people may come across. People would never share with you that what exactly they go through once there is a kind of a scenario where they are supposed to speak. So preparing yourself is something, preparing yourself for the occasion, preparing yourself to speak, collecting those words, and thinking about those kind of the scenario, or thinking about those kind of ideas that you can express in front of the audiences. So think how you make it accessible to as many audiences as you can. So try to think of or try to prepare yourself, or prepare your mind, or prepare your words, that how you can access to the larger number of the audiences. Use approaching situation. Also, you may use the approaching situation. Take time out to think about the questions you may be asked. So try to think about the questions, like for example, if you are going to present this idea, so what kind of the questions might come from the audiences to you, and what answers you may need to give. So this is what exactly you are preparing your mind for. Like people may ask me that what exactly and why exactly I am selling out this product for them. So what should I answer them? How it functions, how it malfunctions, how is it cheaper than the other product? So this is how you are actually preparing yourself. Answer those questions which are coming in your mind, and you think that they can come in the minds of the readers also, or your audiences also. Be prepared for the awkward questions and situations where you may need to explain something in a very different way. So that's kind of a cupcake kind of a thing that may occur right in front of you, and you are supposed to eat it up. And how you are supposed to eat it up? There are different ways to it. Okay, you may cut that into pieces, you may bite it, you may just unwrap it, and you may just put a cream on it, and there are so many ways of that how exactly you are going to eat it. Either you are going to eat that puff cake with a cake, or you are going to have it with a fork, or any other way with which you are going to eat it. So same goes with the presentation. There are a lot and varieties of the ways in which you decide that how you are going to eat or how you are going to actually deliver your presentation, and how you are going to prepare yourself for the audience's answers. Then listen and be interested. Listening more and talking less means that you will understand and bring your listener into the conversation. So once your listeners, or once your audiences, they are talking, try to listen to them carefully. It would give them an opportunity to listen to you more carefully, because they would copy your reaction. Okay, you must have seen that if you must have talked, you must be getting an opportunity of talking with kids. If you have that, just try to observe now on that when you talk to kids, and once you are or once they are talking to you, let's say, if you pay concentration on whatever they are saying, and you ask them that please tell me again, or can you tell me the story again, I'm so interested in listening to that. So you would be getting this opportunity that they in the future they would get you to listen to them carefully. So in a way, you are giving this tit for tat game, or same goes with your audiences. If you had been listening to them well, you would give yourself a room to let them listen to you more carefully. This helps them trust you and make them feel that you really understand their needs. So your trust level would build, that level of the trust would be building between you and your audiences, and that would be increased during the presentation. When they talk, be interested and show your interest. So look interested. The more actively and the more efficiently you are going to listen to them, they would be more eager in listening to you. This will improve the rapport you are trying to build. So it will help you improve the rapport between you and your audiences. Use taking skills. Note-taking skills like mind mapping can help you to take more effective and memorable notes. Like for example, if you have got these flip charts with you during the presentation, and if your audiences are talking and responding to whatever idea that you have floated for their understanding or for their pondering over, and they are giving their suggestions, you are listening to them and you are putting down everything on the flip chart. That gives them an impression that you are listening well. And once you are listening well, you are writing each and everything on the flip chart, or you are making the mind map so that they can understand, or so that they can reflect back their feelings, that how you are so much interested in giving your feedback, or how much you are interested in their feedback towards the topic of the presentation. The next step is be aware of the non-verbal communication traps. So that's very interesting thing that you are supposed to take care of. The impact of the words you say is only a small element of communication you are basically giving. This is only the 35% of your whole communication. You should make sure that your words, their tone, the gestures you make, your facial expressions and the body language you use are all relevant to your conversation. You are saying something and your facial expressions and your non-verbal communication do not go with that. Like for example, I say hello and I am looking here and there around and I'm not shaking hands. So this really gives, I mean, a very odd kind of a situation. Be aware that your non-verbal communication does not trap you during your presentation. 65% of your whole communication is your non-verbal behavior. Whatever you are saying through your verbal communication should strongly be accompanied with your non-verbal behavior. If I say this is a pen, where exactly I am referring to, my hand movements, my pointing towards things should clearly tell that what exactly I am referring to. I must say it in a way, this is a pen. Now it really makes a sense that this is the pen. Earlier saying this is a pen, where is the pen? Nobody can find that out. So be aware of the non-verbal communication traps and try to make sure that all of your verbal communication is accompanied with your non-verbal communication. There are examples for the non-verbal messages as well. Account for about 55% of what is perceived and understood by others and are conveyed through our facial expressions as well as our postures and gestures. So different studies and different surveys, they depict different kinds of the percentages for non-verbal behavior. It's sometimes 65, it's sometimes 55. So always it is crossing the 50% of your everyday communication. So if you make it 60-50, if you make it 55-45, or you make it 65-35, the major portion of our communication is our non-verbal communication or our non-verbal interaction. So our focus should strongly be accompanied with the non-verbal behavior that highlights or that kind of enhances our verbal communication. The next tip is honesty is the best policy. Promising something that is not possible will break down any interest that you have developed. Telling someone that you don't know but can't find out is more positive than just trying to give an answer you hope is effective. So if you don't know the answer for something that is being asked from you by someone during the presentation, you just have to tell them that maybe you don't know right now, but maybe you can get back to them after having a proper study or after consulting someone renowned in this field. So promising something or making the wrong judgments about something or explaining something that is wrong is not a really good idea. So try to be honest with the structure or with the stuff that you are presenting for your audiences rather than conveying the wrong information to your audiences. Show and seek some understanding. Look for understanding from your audiences. It's easier to backtrack at certain points in your conversation than revisit the whole conversation again, or you risk getting the wrong results because your audiences did not understand. You can use them when delivering or receiving a message, or occasional summaries and confirmation questions can be extremely useful. So like the way I keep on asking you that do you remember about verbal communication? Do you remember non-verbal communication? Do you remember what kind of the written communication we have talked about? What exactly I am doing? I am actually recalling whatever you have done in your previous lecture. Same goes with your presentation. Whatever slides that have been passed by, you can say that if you refer back to that very idea that I have already mentioned earlier, the audience's thought automatically would go back to that very thought and that would be refreshed. So this is how you show and you seek some understanding of your audiences. Maybe You can ask your audiences about the stuff that you have recently delivered to them. You can ask them that do you have any problem finding the solutions for it, so they would come up with the ideas. You may ask them that do you like that product, in what sense, so they would tell you about, or they would keep on briefing you about whatever they have liked about the product and whatever they don't have, or whatever they did not like about that very product. So this is how you welcome and seek their understanding about your ideas. Think about perspectives. Think about what you are saying from other person's perspective. So think about the perspectives of the other person. Like, what do you think about this very thing that I have just represented? What have you ever heard about this thing? So try to see that what they think about the stuff that you are presenting, and what exactly they have in their mind about the stuff that you are presenting in front of them. Just because you understand what you mean, it doesn't mean that they will also. So just because you understand everything, it doesn't mean that they will also understand the stuff in the same way. So maybe right now you might not understand these things as better as I do, but in most of the cases, audience's understanding is far better than the presenter or the one who is discussing the whole material. So that doesn't mean that all of us are coming from the same background. You are supposed to think about the perspectives of the different audiences, and also try to listen to them thoroughly, so that you can also get to find out their concerns and their understandings and their perspectives about things. Develop your skills. There are the number of techniques you can learn to help improve your verbal communication skills. These includes the skills to develop plans you can use to formulate responses, whether planned or they are impromptu. Learn the techniques you need to be more effective during these interactions. Mind mapping will help you to take and make notes. It will also help you to do a lot more during your business day. So if you want to develop your skills of speaking and interacting with people, make sure that you get involved with them. Try to get their knowledge as much as you can, so that you can enhance your knowledge and make yourself much better for the upcoming scenarios and upcoming presentations. Now, how to create effective presentations which are full of the verbal fillers, or let's say the verbal communication. Focus on the purpose. If your purpose is clear, your verbal messages or your verbal communication would also be really very clear. Focus on your audiences, whatever kind of the background they're coming from. If you know their background, your verbal messages or your verbal communication would be stronger. Satisfy document requirements, document style, visuals and data. That one you are supposed to do on your own, that we have thoroughly discussed in the previous discussions as well. Get to the point, be as concise as possible. Do not beat about the bush. Do not talk about the extra things in your presentation, because time management is also another thing that you are supposed to take care of during your presentations. Provide accurate information. As I said, that you are not going to talk about the things that are wrong. Try to excuse if you don't know anything. Do not give them the false promises or false information. Express yourself clearly, like in terms of grammar or in terms of vocabulary. Format your slides carefully. Be neat and leave the white space, enough white space, so that you can draw your discussions here. Manage your time efficiently. So time management is also a very important thing in making effective presentations. So that was the part one. There were some tips of enhancing your verbal communication during presentation. The part two that we have also addressed thoroughly in the previous lectures as well, and we have discussed it thoroughly. There are also these 7 C's of communication are really very important in your verbal communication, especially in terms of delivering the presentation. Now today we are going to discuss these 7 C's of communication. Once we are going to talk about the presentation or how to use these 7 C's of communications during presentations. Now I know that you remember these 7 C's of communication, starting from completeness, conciseness, consideration, clarity, concreteness, courtesy and correctness. So these are 7 C's of communication that you are supposed to properly address during your presentation. So let's discuss each one of them one by one, and how you are going to see and how you are going to take care of them during your presentations. Completeness. Your message should be complete. Okay, so whenever you are making your slides and whenever you are presenting in terms of written communication as well as your spoken communication, make sure that your message is being communicated completely. Answer all questions that are asked. So we had been just a few minutes back, we had been talking about that how you can help yourself ask yourself questions that might come in the minds of the readers. So once you are going to address those questions on your own, that would help you see that how you can address the concerns of your audiences and how you can prepare yourself, answer the queries of the audiences. Give someone something extra when desirable. So prepare for extra thing that can be provided to your audiences. Any kind of the evidences, any kind of the examples, that can be something extra, like 50% extra, so that you can prepare yourself more. Check for 5 W's and 1 H. 5 W's would refer to who, what, when, where and why, and 1 H would refer to how. We have discussed this thing previously in a lot of the details, so we don't have to go through all of these 5 W's and 1 H. Now let's quickly solve this exercise that we have also tried to solve one in the previous discussions as well. You are the president of an industry association and have received the following inquiry from an out-of-town member. Now the member says, I think I would like to attend my first meeting of the association even though I am not acquainted with your city. Will you please tell me where the next meeting is being held? Now how would you reply to this letter, keeping in mind the completeness of the message? Keep in mind the 5 W's and 1 H. Where is the meeting going to take place? When? Who are you? Why is meeting being planned, and when is the meeting being planned, and how he can reach the place of the meeting on what very day. The next element is conciseness. Conciseness, as the words itself indicates, refers to the crisp down or the minimum collection of the words which are presenting the larger thoughts. Eliminate wordy expressions like those kind of the categories, the redundant categories or the phrases should be reduced to the words. Include only relevant statement. Try to be focused. Shorten and avoid the long explanations which you find are less relevant. Try to stick to the most relevant information. Avoid gushing politeness. Avoid unnecessary repetitions. Use short forms the second time, like for example, if you are using one long name of the institution, try to refer to the pronouns second time. Use pronouns to replace those longer phrases, maybe names or maybe the names of the institutions or organizations. Like find single word substitutes for the phrases, like with regard to can be replaced with about, despite the fact that can be replaced with although, at the present writing can be replaced with now, is of an opinion that can be replaced with thanks, is in the first place can be replaced with first, at a rapid rate can be replaced with fast. The next C of communication is consideration, like focus on you approach that we have also had a thorough discussion about instead of I and we. If you give this importance to your audiences by calling them you, like during the presentation you keep on saying that you would be very delighted to find that we have made this product. Now your focus is basically on you, not me or not we. Show reader benefit and interest. You would be getting this kind of or you would be getting 50% interest on buying this product. So they would become your audiences, they would become more interested. Emphasize on positive and pleasant. So try to depict the positive aspects of the item that you are presenting in front of them. Apply integrity and ethics. Try to focus on the words which do not cross those limitations of ethics. Dear gentlemen, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear sir, dear ma'am, anyone who wants to ask you a question, keep do remember that you consider them. Yes sir, please, you are trying to say something. Yes madam, please, would you like to say something? So these kind of words which depict ethics and integrity should thoroughly be addressed during the presentations. Write with you attitude, it shows consideration. Like instead of writing I want to send my congratulations for, now let's try to write it with the you approach. You are congratulated, or congratulations to you. Now the second example is, we will ship soon the goods of your order. Now instead of saying that, we can replace that by saying your order of goods will be shipped to you soon. So that's the right way of saying it. We pay 8% interest on. Instead of saying that, you can say you will get 8% interest on. So this is how you write down with the you approach. The next C of communication is concreteness. Use specific facts and figures. So try to bring in the facts and figures into your speech or into your verbal communication. Try to show them the bars. Try to show them these aids like visual aids, and also show them different graphs and charts that can depict the facts and figures about something. Refer to the surveys, refer to the researches, refer to the year once telling them about something. Put action into words. Now for putting action into words, make sure that you are going to put that action into words and make it more concrete and appealing. Choose vivid image building words, comparison and figurative language. That one you can do with adding a lot of adjectives. Use more adjectives and adverbs into your communication. That would make it more concrete. Second, the next point is clarity. For enhancing your verbal messages, choose short, familiar and the conversational words. You would sound more clear if your conversation is has got the simple and understandable words by the audiences. Construct effective sentences and paragraphs by unity of ideas and sequencing. So there should be a proper organization of the ideas in which you are moving. The things that are more important should be expressed earlier, and the things that you feel should be addressed later or of less priority, leave them for the end. Achieve appropriate readability by using formal and informal language. So this thrill in your presentation should be achieved through talking about the formal and informal language. Include examples, illustrations and visual aids that may be of one good idea of enhancing your verbal communication through visual aid, examples and illustrations that can help you define and describe things for your audiences in a clear way. For making your words more clear, instead of using difficult words, what you can do is you can use simple words. Like for the word subsequent, you can use later. For accede, you can use agree. Endeavor, try. Supersede, replace, and disclose means to show. Another C of communication is courtesy. Once you are trying to be courteous, it means that you are being sincere, tactful, thoughtful and appreciative of your audiences. If your audiences have any comments, be sincere with them. Like we had been talking about sincerity in the previous lecture as well. Sincerity through your non-verbal behavior. Now here you are supposed to be sound, or you are supposed to sound courteous through your sincerity, through your words. Omit expressions that hurt, irritate or insult. I'm sorry, I don't know that. What are you talking about? These kind of expressions should properly be addressed during your presentations. Grant apologies graciously. So if there is something that goes wrong during presentation, do not hesitate to grant apologies from your audiences. And also for example, if you were unable to listen to the question properly, try to say, please, my apologies sir, can you repeat your question again? I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you are saying. Please, can you repeat that again, or can you come up with your question again? So this is how you are trying to be courteous with your audiences, as to make sure that your audiences are not annoyed at something that is being communicated by you. Remember, everything is about your words, the collection of the words, the choice of the words that you are using to make your audiences understand that whatever you are talking about would make your idea clear to them. So make sure that the ideas that you are reflecting or you are communicating to your audiences should be clear in a way that your audiences understand them better and they like you more. Now you can show courtesy by avoiding tactless and blunt language. Like for example, instead of saying that your letter is not clear at all, you are trying to be more courteous, so you can say that I am sorry, or maybe please accept my apologies. I could not understand your letter. So try to take the blame on you, try to sound courteous to them. People would only think good of you if you are going to take their blames on you, their problems on you. So try to, if you want your presentation to be a success, you have to move diplomatically a little bit. Obviously, the second example is, obviously, if you would read your policy carefully, you will be able to answer these questions yourself. So if you would sound more courteous, you can say that the answer of your the questions that you are asking possess an answer within the policy, but I can explain them to you if you require. So this is how you can sound more courteous to the audiences. Another technique for sounding courteous is using the gender-friendly substitutes. The best man for the job, instead of using this man, the best person for the job is. Now, person is the word that possesses both man and women. Manpower, human power. Salesman, salesperson. Chairman, chairperson. So, gender-friendly substitutes should be properly addressed or should be properly used during the verbal communication. Now another example is, you guys should all be concerned about the issue. Now what this should be replaced with? All of you. So all of you would carry not only guys but all the girls also. Each manager has an assigned place where he should park his car. Each manager has an assigned place where they can park their car. The next C of communication is correctness. Correctness in terms of grammar and punctuation, or the right level of the language that you are using. So you must make sure that you must sound grammatically correct to your audiences. Check accuracy of facts, figures and words. Maintain acceptable writing mechanics. Choose non-discriminatory language and use parallel language. So that brings us to the end of 7 C's of communication during presentation. The third discussion thing is effective verbal communication. How you can communicate verbally, or how effectively you can communicate verbally. The first thing that you are supposed to do is, if you want to communicate verbally effectively, in an effective way, is to know your audiences. Now you need to listen. If you are talking to a small group of people in an informal discussion, listening to what other people are saying or not saying is your best tool. So if you are going to listen to them properly, so listening would become your best tool of knowing your audiences. If you are addressing to a large group of people, you want to find out as much as possible about the people you are going to talk to. So listening would help you understand the larger group of people as well as the smaller group of people. Do your homework. If you want to know your audiences, do your homework. If you are presenting or if you are representing your organization in front of other organizations, try to see what kind of the background or what kind of the organizations your audiences are coming from. So this is what you are exactly supposed to do. This is your homework. What are their burning questions? So any question that comes in your mind, you are supposed to address that question on your own, so that you can address the planned answers for the questions that any of the audiences is going to ask you. What is their knowledge to the subject that you are going to talk about? So once you are going to do your homework about the audiences, that would help you get answers for their background knowledge or their educational background as well as their knowledge background. So what kind of the knowledge background they are coming from and how much do they know about your topic. Do they have an opinion in any direction, and is there any passion in them to find out about your topic? So are they passionate to listen to you, or are they just being forced to attend your presentation? Now, after knowing your audiences, it is the next thing that you are supposed to do is to know your topic. This might sound like an obvious statement, like all of you must know what exactly is your topic, but you would be surprised if you know how many unprepared performances and presentations that are held every minute. Sometimes people, they appear on the stage and they forget about what they were supposed to present. So stage fear is always there. This nervousness element is always there. You are supposed to know your topic clearly. Read, Google, listen to others, again do your homework. What are your feelings about certain issue? Why? List all the potential questions to your topic. Try to seek each and every possible question, each to every possible situation that might occur to you. You might start shaking in front of your audiences. You might forget everything. You might be blank in front of your audiences. So try to see each and every situation. For that, make sure that you have forgotten to see at the slide. You know that what exactly you are talking about, and that should be about your topic. This is probably one of the most important tip of effective verbal communication. If you have forgotten about what is written into your slides or onto your slides, make sure that you have read ample things, or you have been Googling and listening to others about your topic so that you can say at least something in front of your audiences. Plan your presentation. Make up a storyboard and make up mind map. So making a mind map would help you see relating your ideas to one another. Be creative and lay out all the threads to your topic that you possibly think of. What background material do you have for the topic? So background material is another thing that you are supposed to look for. Is there a particular angle that you like, or what material knowledge do you lack? So if you know everything about the topic and there might comes a question in your mind, so you must Google again. Try to look for the material and the knowledge that you lack for your topic. Biggest reason for not having effective verbal communication is that people say too much. They have so many things that they want to get across. So during the presentation, once you want to say a lot of things, it might end up nowhere. Since you have so many things on your mind and you want to talk about so many things, and you keep on talking, forgetting about the ideas that you have mentioned into your slide, instead of elaborating the points that you have, or maybe focusing on one point more rather than the other one, would leave you to nothing. Your time management, giving a proper time to each and every point written on your slide, is one technique that you can use for making your verbal communication effective. Your biggest challenge is now to cut down the material to the minimum. So crisp down your material. Try to see that what exactly you are supposed to add. If you think that this thing needs more attention and more elaboration, and you are supposed to talk more about it, try to give that a big heading onto your slide, and then divide that into the sub bullets. If you will do a PowerPoint presentation, a good ground rule is to have one slide per 2 to 5 minutes. So make sure that each slide must be given 2 to 5 minutes, between 2 to 5, not less than 2 or not more than 5. Because when you're passionate about something, you build up knowledge and you don't want to miss anything important. So once you know a lot about anything, or once you know a lot about one material, you are so much passionate about it that you don't want to miss out anything. But think about the audience and your knowledge about them. Think about the audiences, how they are bearing you, and how you are supposed to convey your information to them. Why do they want to know? Why exactly do they want to know? And this need analysis is really very important. Why exactly they are sitting to listen to your stuff? What would they benefit from knowing? And are there parts of the subject that really more than they need to know for you to get to your point across? So this is what you are supposed to exactly see, as not to miss out any point in your presentation, and not to bring in any point that is irrelevant to your discussion. The next thing that you are supposed to do is to own your room. The room you are presenting in, try to own that. That's your place. If possible, it is always good to see the room where you are presenting, where your presentation will take place. So, if you get to find out that you are supposed to present, try to make sure that you visit that place and you also, try to see that what and how your room looks like. There are a number of things that can disturb you in the first couple of minutes of your presentation. How big is the room? How are the chairs placed? Is there a stage? Do you need a microphone? Where will that be placed? Who will flip the slides into your presentation? Can you do that yourself? If so, how? If you need special equipment, where will they be placed? Or will there be spotlights and so on? So there can be a lot of questions that can come in your mind regarding the room. Find out as much as you can beforehand, so you have everything under control. Instead of panicking during the presentation and calling in the IT person, please, can you fix this, can you fix that, and just wasting the time of your audiences. Then next thing is, if you are a part of a larger program, it is very good to sit in the other presentations also, like in the conferences and the seminars. Try to see and visit and try to attend others' presentations also. This will be beneficial to you for the main reasons. You will get a better feeling for the audiences. Are they open, serious, or emotional? So you would be quietly observing them. And maybe you can, meet them and greet them and tell them that you are going to be the next presenter. You will get a better feeling for the room. So the room would automatically become familiar to you, and you would get a better feeling for the room. So it brings us to the end of today's lecture. Today we have thoroughly talked about how you can improve your verbal communication during your presentations. We have thoroughly discussed the tips for improving your verbal communication skills during your presentations, starting from the choice of the words that you are using to just accompanying your verbal communication with your non-verbal communication. Then we have been thoroughly talking about the 7 C's of communication, which basically start with completeness. Your message has to be complete. Conciseness, your message has to be very, very concise and crisp down and to the point. Then clarity, it should be clear. Then the next thing was courtesy, and then completeness, correctness, and so on and so forth. Then how you can have the effective verbal communication. You are supposed to work on your verbal communication, just know your audiences, know your topic, own the room, try to sound interesting to the audiences, try to meet with people, try to be around the space in which you are supposed to present in front of the audiences, and this is how you can get yourself prepared for your presentation. Remember one thing, your verbal communication and your non-verbal communication, they go hand in hand. You cannot isolate one from the other. In the same way, your communication cannot be isolated only to your speaking. Now, your speaking is basically integrated with your reading, writing, and listening. The more you are going to listen to your audiences, the audiences, they are going to, listen to you more. The more you are going to read about the topic, the more your vocabulary, your expression of communication, and your pronunciation would be becoming healthier. Then the more you are going to write, the more competent enough you would become in preparing for your presentation, and in the end your speaking would improve. You would be more fluent in speaking as compared to just saying and reading from the slides. So this is how you can, or all of these skills, they combine together to become you a good, or to make you a good communicator of the day. So make sure whenever you are going to go into your business life, the only thumb rule is that you are supposed not to work on only one language skill of all the language skills that we have talked about. Our language basically focuses on is the combination of all the 4 language skills that are there. These are the multi-language skills, and we are the multi-persons. Like without heart, without lungs, without stomach, our body, will not or cannot function. In the same way, without speaking, without listening, without reading, and without writing, our language cannot be complete. Our productive skills and our receptive skills are supposed to be there if we want to achieve the level of good communication. So with that, it brings us to the end of today's lecture. Here is the list of references from where the material was collected and from where the material was being gathered for you. It brings us to the end of today's lecture. I hope and I would welcome you, and I would ask you to contribute and to make sure that you select a topic for your presentation. Try to make a presentation on the PowerPoint slide. Try to rehearse that. Try to see that how much you can present while you have prepared. There might come situations in your life when you are not prepared and when you don't have to, or when you are not being given a topic but yet you are supposed to present. Now that presentation can be related to your everyday life, or that can be related to your business scenario. Now you are supposed to be prepared for that, verbally and non-verbally in both cases. Now you are in better hands, and you know that what kind of the verbal communication you are supposed to use for communication. Either that's going to be a everyday life, or that's going to be a business scenario, and what kind of the non-verbal communication you are supposed to use for making yourself a good communicator. I hope that you are going to make yourself good communicators of future, and I hope that you are going to become good business administrators. I wish you a very good luck for making down the good presentations. In the next class, you would be getting the different topics. I would share with you different kinds of topics related to your business scenario, so that you can make and you can create your presentations accordingly. With that, I wish you a very good luck for making presentation. Just try making one now on your own. Try to rehearse that in front of the mirror. Try to record that and try to see that how you look like to other people. Once you know that this is what you look like to the other people, you can work out and you can make yourself look better to the audiences. Try to find out the negative aspects and try to find out the loopholes in your communication. Take very good care of yourself. Good luck, and Allah Hafiz.